Last Sunday it was rainy and gloomy, so I didn't feel like spending too long in the kitchen, so I only meal prep lunch and dinner instead of all 4 meals and tried to keep it short and easy without compromising on taste. For dinner I made kofta and potato curry along with roti. I started with making koftas first. I used a mix of ground lamb and ground chicken. You can use any combination of ground meat for this recipe. I added minced ginger, garlic and green chilies in it along with panko breadcrumbs and a bunch of seasoning including turmeric, red chili powder, cumin powder, Shan's Kofta spice mix and a pinch of salt. Then I mixed everything together, being careful not to overmix but still making sure that every bite gets the spice. Once everything was mixed, I formed them into round meatballs. If you find that your meat is too sticky, you can add more breadcrumbs or flour, and if it's too dry and not sticky enough, you can add an egg. Once I formed all the meatballs, I left them in the fridge for a few minutes. Then I peeled and chopped 4 small potatoes into small bites. After chopping the potatoes, I got started on making the base of the curry on a pan. It's important that it's a big flat pan. I will show you in a minute why. I sprayed some oil and sauteed coriander and cumin seeds along with ginger, then added some tomato paste along with some chicken broth. Sadly, I realized at the very last second that I'm out of onions and didn't want to go out in rain to buy an onion, so I improvised and used fried onions from my pantry. Then added pureed tomatoes, about 1 cup, followed by a little more chicken broth. Once the gravy started coming together, I added the same spices as the ones I added in the meat. I stirred it all together and let it simmer on medium heat for a while before adding the koftas in. This is where it's important to have a flat and big pan so each kofta gets enough heat from the bottom of the pan without stacking on top of each other. Then I added the potatoes, carefully stirred everything, making sure both koftas and potatoes are getting enough of the gravy. I covered the pan to let both koftas and potatoes get enough heat and cook. In the meantime, I started working on the dough for roti. I used 1 cup of whole wheat flour and half a cup of lukewarm water and kneaded the dough until it came together. And I sprayed some oil over it to keep it from getting dry, covered it and let it sit for a few minutes. I went back to check on kofta curry and it looked so good. I used a meat thermometer to check if the koftas were cooked from inside and also took a bite of a potato and oh my god, it was so delicious. I garnished it with cilantro and left it to cool before boxing it. And then I started the prep for lunch, chicken fried rice. I washed 1 cup of rice until water ran clear and then added 2 cups of chicken broth to it. Just water works fine too, but I have been trying to sneak in chicken broth into a lot of my recipes to increase the protein. Then I covered the rice to let it cook and started chopping veggies for the fried rice, including bell pepper and mushroom. I chopped bell pepper finely into small bites and thinly sliced the mushroom since they shrink while cooking anyway. I was also planning to use a bunch of frozen veggies to avoid chopping more veggies and to save time. Last up, I chopped ginger and garlic before I started heating up the wok to make fried rice. I started by sauteing ginger, garlic and dried red chilies. Once they were roasted and brown, I added a bunch of frozen veggies including a mix of onion, carrot and celery and frozen peas. I ran them all under water to thaw them so they don't get watery overheat. Then I added the chopped bell peppers and mushroom. Once the veggies were almost cooked, I added the flavoring soy sauce, rice vinegar and Szechuan sauce. All these sauces are high in sodium and flavor, so I didn't feel the need to add any salt or pepper. After mixing them up, I moved the veggies to the side to make space for eggs. I whisked 2 whole eggs in a jar and added them to the pan. For the main protein, I used pre-cooked chicken bites from Costco to save time. If you're cooking chicken at home from scratch, I'd recommend marinating them with soy sauce and cooking them either on the same pan before adding the veggies or in oven separately. I chopped the chicken into smaller pieces and mixed them with the veggies. I almost forgot to check on my rice while doing this. They were on the verge of burning, but I got to it just in time. I fluffed them out with a fork before adding them to the pan and then gave everything a good mix. With that, my fried rice was ready. I just added some cilantro and let it cool down before boxing it up. Last step I had to do was make rotis. I always leave this step for last because it requires undivided attention. I divided the dough into 8 equal portions and rolled out each one and cooked them on a hot pan. And with that, all my lunches and dinners for the week were done. If you want to see more meal prep content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel.